Hey, let us talk about pivoting from an entrepreneur back to corporate. Now, I know this can be wild sometimes, right? You've built from nothing, the late nights, no one understanding you, the missed opportunities, the sacrifices, right? Um, the payroll that you weren't getting, the health insurance that you probably weren't getting, right? But also like the thrill of the wins. Like I know for me, when I got like the first time someone paid for a digital product or they paid for a consulting service, right? Or when I got my first corporate gig and I did a whole workshop. Like it's it's a great feeling, but it's also so much work, right? Like your business isn't just what you do. In a lot of ways, it is who you are, right? No one is getting up here. Like I'm not on this YouTube every single day for anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes telling you about this stuff, teaching you about this stuff because I don't care. I care deeply, right? Like I I love it, right? And I'm also building a life from it, right? So I understand that hustle, right? So when that voice starts whispering of like what's next, and the thought of going back to corporate crosses your mind, several things can happen. It could feel like a betrayal, or it could be a relief, right? Because as I just mentioned, there's just so much that goes on when you're doing starting your business, establishing your business, and then just doing the day to day of it all, especially if you're solo or a small team, right? So when you finally decide what next, I want to share this video with you, right? How do you make the move? We're talking about translating your legacy, right? In this video, I'm going to walk through the mindset shift you need to make the exact questions that you have, like to make the move and to answer. Maybe not even answering, but I'm going to ask you some questions, and then you would need to answer that, right? That's a better way to frame that, right? So the questions you should be asking yourself so you can land at the right company. I think the biggest challenge of when you are someone who's a self-starter, someone who likes to move quick and innovate, it can be frustrating when maybe you have the perceived stability of now you have a paycheck, now you have what you call it, you have healthcare, but you can't get anything done because you have to go through like 10 people, right? That can be frustrating. So how do you vet so you're not in that type of situation? So we'll go through that, right? And then I will also put a link in the description as well as in my comment section of a worksheet that covers everything I'm discussing, as well as some questions that you can ask yourself just so you have a concrete, tangible thing to work through. All right. So please look out for that in the chat. Now, with no further ado, let's get into the why, right? Because your story isn't about starting over brand new. You're bringing your skill set, you're evolving. So let's start with that, right? This can feel hard because you're about to change your identity. The title of founder or CEO, that really motivated you and pushed you, right? Because you're like, not only am I proving something to myself, right, but I'm also um, accountable to my clients, and I'm also accountable to my team if I have one, right? So that can be a lot. It signals that you care, right? And especially in the corporate world, though. So internally and within your entrepreneurship world, it means something. But then in the corporate world, it signals that you were the one in charge, the visionary, the one who took risk, which again is great. But when it comes to corporate recruiters, they might hear founder and they might think chaos, eccentric, unmanageable, flight risk, right? So your role, the tension that comes up in this course is to close that gap, right? Because the reality is that as a founder, you are great at building systems, you're great at leading teams, you know how to drive revenue, right? So you want to make sure that that is coming across and not any worries that you might come to the company for a few months and leave, right? So our mission here is not to erase your founder story, but more to reframe it, right? The why behind your pivot isn't just like, oh, I'm tired of being the boss. The why is that you've gotten so good at what you do that you're ready to help them have the same results, right? Because people are only hiring you because you can produce results. And at this point, if you're going to corporate, you can produce results at scale. So what you're pretty much saying to them and what you're communicating to them is, I've been able to test, to iterate, and to validate in the real world. I've made income from it. I've tested what works, right? And now I'm going to share that with you, right? So all those lessons, the wins, everything, I'm bringing that and making your company stronger, which will make you more money, which will save you time. Because I already did all the hard work. That is what you're selling when you're pivoting, right? You're choosing to apply your skills in a bigger stage with more resources and a different kind of impact. So that's the first thing that we need to clarify, the why. You need to be able to outline the why for yourself, so therefore you can explain it. Because however you're seeing yourself, however you're perceiving yourself and thinking about this change is what you're going to project. So you need to know, like, this is what I've done, this is what I'm great at, and here's how I'm going to help you. Now, number two is the how. Okay, I'm going to share 3 questions that could define your next chapter. Because once you know your why, you need a framework for how, right? Before you touch your resume, your LinkedIn, you start doing informational interviews that are more targeted, you have to really understand, what am I doing, right? So I will ask 3 questions around the archetype, the ecosystem, and the season. So first, what is your career archetype? So I would say stop thinking about job titles and start thinking about the role that you play, right? So I have in my notes here, I have function versus hierarchy, right? What function, right, are you leaning into? After years of doing everything, who have you become? Are you one, the strategic person, the one who doesn't just run campaigns, or like, let's say you're in marketing, right? You're not just running campaigns, but you're also building brands and revenue engines. Two, the business operator, right? Are you the integrator who turns a founder's chaotic vision to smooth, scalable operations? Now, you know that you were the founder. You went from idea to implementation. But I think what's really important here is to understand that every person who's a visionary is not an executor, it's not an operator. So if you can show that, hey, I understood this assignment, I was able, also, if you had a team, contract or not, I was able to have the vision, explain the vision effectively to someone for them to now execute. Or I had a vision and these are the steps I took to execute. Either way, that's a powerful skill set that you can package in your new pursuit for a corporate role, right? So you really have to understand, like, one, are you maybe more strategic? Two, are you leaning more into business operator? And three, are you the innovation strategist? Are you the change manager, right? Are you the person who sees the future and translates emerging tech like AI into real business advantage, right? Who are you, right? Again, the strategist, the operator, or the innovator? Which one? And again, you can be all three. Once you start deciding where you want to go next, you might want to, like, pick a story and a narrative and then just go full speed on that, right? And those would be the three that you can ground yourself in, right? Once you claim your archetype, it gives you a narrative. It's the theme of your story, right? Second, what is your ideal ecosystem? And this is where just tapping into the worksheet really matters, because I break it down a little bit more and you can actually see the visual of the matrix. But a company's size is in its culture. A massive company, like let's say Meta or Google, it sounds like, oh my gosh, if I work there, obviously one, the name brand, but it sounds like, oh, once I work there, it's already so established that it's going to be a ton of bureaucracy and a ton of this and a ton of that. And that could be the case. But if you choose to go to a smaller team, or a team that's, now building out AI, or building out, AI is a new thing, a new strategy, a new tool, a new program, a new product, right? So that team will have the resources of the established company, but then we'll have the scrappiness of a scalable startup, which means that for you, as someone going from entrepreneurship to technically intrapreneurship, right? You have that drive to build. So you might want to work for Meta, but work in a smaller team, right? So that scrappy team operates like what you're used to. So think on two levels, right? Macro, this is the company stage. Are you creating the chaos of a startup, the structured growth of a scale up, or the resources of an established enterprise, right? That's the macro level. Then on the micro level, think about the team's mission. Do you want to build something from scratch, 0 to 1? Do you want to optimize an existing system, or do you want to lead a mature function? So think about macro and then think about micro, right? And again, you can join a huge established company, but work on a builder team that feels just like your startup, right? Only this time you have a budget. And you know that even if you don't get a client right away, you will still get paid, right? And healthcare. So download the workshop, the worksheet, and think through these different functions, right? The third thing is, what is your season? Why are you even pivoting right now and going from entrepreneurship to corporate? Be brutally honest with yourself. What do you want more in this next chapter? And what do you want less of? Are you optimizing for learning a new skill? Or for the leverage, right? So like, let me actually take a step back. If you want to learn a new skill, let's say AI is evolving rapidly right now, and there's so many AI tools. If you work for a company that cares about AI, what will happen here is that you get access to all these different tools without you having to pay for it. You get to learn from your colleagues. You just get to exponentially expedite your understanding and your learning and your actual tangible results you can get from this. And I say that every job is an apprenticeship. And the reason why I say that is because you will be getting paid to learn. And then you can take those learnings and depending on what you want to do, if you want to grow in the corporate space, you can do that. If you want to go back into your business, you can do that, right? But you're constantly learning and you're being paid to learn. It's great, right? So if you're in a space where you want to learn a new skill and you want the company to facilitate that, that's great. If it's more for lifestyle, right? Maybe you don't want to be doing all nighters trying to like build decks for your clients and all this stuff. So you are just going to simply focus on lifestyle. So 9 to 5, I'm in, I'm out, I'm done. I can go pick up my kid from school. I can take PTO without worrying about it. Like, lifestyle, um, por- um, remote work, all that good stuff. Then, do you want leverage? And leverage means that now when you go back into your business or whatever, you can now say like X meta, X this, X that, right? Or I've worked with these companies. I understand them. I have this their methodology like in me now because I work there, right? So that could be what it could be to could be leverage. So the answer to these really dictates everything. Then we have the what, translating your genius, right? So we've gone over the why and we've defined your how. So being tactical, the what is how do you translate your founder story for a corporate audience? Rule number one, shift your language from entrepreneur to intrapreneur. And I kind of mentioned this earlier. So the thing is that when you're moving to corporate, they actually quite love you, right? Because they want your skills. What they don't want, though, is your independence. And what this means is that you might know this if you hired people, it takes so much money to advertise for a position to go through the interview process. Because the interview process, you have to like think about the questions you're asking, to create the job description, you have to do all this stuff. And then two, you have to take away time from people, right? Especially if you work at a company that's like billable, whatever the case may be. If I'm interviewing you, even if it's a 30-minute interview, let's add another 30 minutes to um, the notes you have to take, the feedback you have to give, reading the person's resume, all that stuff, right? So let's say that that's like at least a solid hour that you just took away from each team member that's interviewing. And especially if you're working in corporate or tech, they're like a number of rounds of interviews. So that collectively, you probably just took minimum 15 hours away from your team. And those 15 hours now translate to either billable or just salary. That's 15 hours of work that you didn't get out of the person, right? No one wants to keep doing this. And then not to even mention like once you get hired, the training it's a lot of money, right? So they want to make sure that you're gonna stay, right? And if you're an entrepreneur, there's a higher chance that you would leave, right? So you need to show them that you thrive within a structure. So instead of saying something like, I built my own business, I would suggest you say something like, I scaled a high performing team and managed a multi-million dollar client portfolio, or whatever amount that you did, right? Instead of I did everything, jack of all trades, you would say, I led strategic functions across marketing, operations, and client success, resulting in XYZ, or talking about retention, right? And instead of I love autonomy, I don't want to be micromanaged. You can say I thrive in environments that value initiative and cross-functional problem solving. And actually, I'm reading. Let me not mess it up. I'm reading Good to Great by Jim Collins, and one of the things that he says is that for for a team to succeed, to thrive, you need to have people on the team that you are not needing to manage. You need to guide them. You sure you need to be able to brainstorm with them, but if you need to manage them, if you need to create structure and what's the word? It's a deep word I'm looking for, if they don't have discipline, right, it makes everything so much harder. So coming as an entrepreneur, they already know that you have discipline. They already know you have drive. They already know you're self-started. They already know you're going to ask questions to figure things out, which is great, right? And then since you are coming back into the fold, you even have an extra layer of greatness because now you can say, I know when I need help. I know how to ask for help. I know how to work with a team, and that's why I'm coming back. So you become the perfect candidate, right? So I hope you're seeing the difference in here. It's the same truth, it's different language. One sounds like a lone wolf and the other sounds more like a team leader. And that's what you want. So that's rule number one, right? Which is shift your language from entrepreneurship to intrapreneurship. Then rule number two is structure your resume around value, not necessarily like hierarchy. So your resume isn't like a history book, it's a sales document. It's your most powerful role. So if you're going to leave founder on your resume or LinkedIn, it should be framed as a high level executive position, right? So rather than listen task, think about it as your pillars of value. So think about what pillar do I value and what will the companies value as well. So let's say you're thinking leadership and strategy, right? So you would say something like, on your resume, on your LinkedIn, I directed, or you wouldn't say I directed end-to-end go-to-market strategies for a portfolio of 20 clients driving over X amount in revenue, right? If a value of yours in the companies is around operational excellence, then you would say something like, I engineered and scaled marketing automation workflows that improved operational efficiency by over X amount or percent. And then if a value of yours is innovation and growth, you would say something like pioneered the integration of AI powered tools to improve campaign reporting and data driven decision making, right? So every bullet should scream strategic impact, not just I was busy, I'm a founder, like what impact did you have, right? So this document doesn't say I'm an entrepreneur looking for a job. It says I'm a strategic leader who already who's already built the function you're trying to hire for. Let me come and do it for you at scale, right? So my last thoughts here are your journey as a founder is super, super pivotal, and you're going to in a lot of ways. Once you pick the right company and the right team, be able to progress that further, but with more resource, with they say two heads are better than one, right? You have more not only material resources, but also intellectual resources, human resources, to move you along. And for whatever your reason is, right? Whether you want to just take a break and come back to your business with more insight, whether you want to go down the corporate ladder, it doesn't really matter, but how you frame it matters, right? Uh, Choosing this new arena to dominate, if you will. So reframe your story, choose your archetype, find your ecosystem, and translate your incredible value into language of the future that you want to create. And as I said, it's probably a little bit easier to follow all of this if you utilize the worksheet I created. So definitely find that in the description below and also pinned in the comments, right? So with that said, subscribe for more career strategy. Ask your questions. Like this video came out of someone asking a question about their entrepreneurship journey. So ask your questions. So I'm happy to create a video for you. Alrighty, see you in the next video.